Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and I have Peter here today, and
Hello.
We're going to work together and talk about some tips for Italy. If you're going for the first time, you might just appreciate these tips. Just a few things we found when we're away. So
yeah, exactly. We looked at a few things beforehand that helped us, but there was a lot of things we learned as we went along.
And some things we forgot, like the toilets and everything
yes,
like that.
Exactly.
So I've written a list, Peter's got his list, so I'll start first. Number one, carry a small amount of change, like euros that they have or they use in Italy, because you can't go to the toilet for free like you do in Australia and America, and I assume Canada? I'm not too sure.
Don't know.
We've had it in China, but I forgot all about it. I forgot, and you haven't always got the change.
No, and some of them are automatic and they don't have change.
That's right.
So whatever you put in, assume you've got something, is what it costs you.
And the other tip, if you don't want to pay to go to the toilet, it's around lunchtime or afternoon tea, you can go to a cafe, order a drink or a meal, then you can use their toilets. So we did that as well. We did a bit of both because, you know, you don't want to be eating all day if you need to go to the toilet. So that's number one. Okay, also, this was a bit of a shock. We bought gelato at this place, and of course, I'm not an ice cream person, but I thought I'd just try it, and then I fell in love with gelato, now an addict, but we just bought a small one. So don't expect that you can sit down unless you spend a certain amount at that establishment. They won't let you sit down because there was no one in this cafe. It was nicely decorated. It was beautiful. And we went to sit down and he goes, no, you have to buy the bigger ice cream.
And if he'd actually told us, we probably would have considered it, but we didn't know.
Well, that was our first experience. So you can't always sit down. So that's number two. There is no irons in the room because I thought, being so in love with fashion, that I could pack my bag and then get a quick iron out in the places we stopped and just give it a quick iron over. So did all the other people that were on our tour. And no, there was an ironing room you can go to, but it just doesn't fit in.
That was only in a couple of places. Most of them didn't even have a laundry or an ironing room.
Well, there we are. And even if they did, you couldn't be bothered because you had to go too far. So,
Sorry, that's a phone going off in the background. It'll stop shortly.
I'll ring them back.
Yep.
Number four. If you have dietary requirements like I have, I'm a celiac, don't just assume at the restaurants they can't cater for you. Like ask them, do you do gluten-free? Do you do dairy-free? Or whatever you know, can you exclude the tomato? Because we had a tomato allergy lady on our tour. So just ask them because they don't always write it on their menus.
No, that was a big one that we learned early on, that you had to ask. The other thing to do with the dietary is that Europe has, I think, a really good system. They have this number from 1 to 14. And each time, now we've got somebody.
It's all happening today, ladies. This is real life. Girls.
Yep. Okay, girls, it's okay.
It's all right.
It's okay.
Belle, stop it.
Sorry, somebody opened a door, and of course that means our automatic Western doorbell goes off. Yeah, they have this really good system of numbering from 1 to 14 with all the different allergens. So in our case, gluten-free is number 1. And where they do mark it on the restaurant guide or whatever you're buying, it's really clear and makes it much easier for you to understand. But not everybody did that. So always had to ask, and we're sometimes shocked that, yes, we do gluten-free or whatever it is. So definitely ask.
Number 5, I think I've got here. If you're going into museums, you have to cover your shoulders and your knees.
Yep.
We were told on our tour, but maybe if you're not doing a tour, you might not be aware of it. If it's a hot day, we don't really think about it in Australia because we can sort of get away with it. So it's a bit different than what we're used to.
Yeah, and the other one that was interesting was that if you're wearing a hat, because it was hot, so we were wearing hats for sun protection, the men have to take their hat off, whereas the ladies don't.
I still took my hat off because that's not fair. That's
Well,
not fair.
It's also out of respect for where you're going into. But yeah, it was an interesting difference there.
Yeah, so if you're going anywhere, like we went to Assisi, I think, where
Yep.
the Vatican controls that area, so you have to really dress quite conservatively and like probably not, like a fee
Yeah.
like
Oh, well,
this.
that's okay. It was just the shoulders. You can't show the shoulders
Or the knees.
Or the knees.
Apparently they're too risque or something.
Yeah.
Okay, number 6, be more conscious of your surroundings because they don't stop for a pedestrian going across a crossing.
Yep.
Apparently, the cars and the bikes get right away. Like in Australia, and I'm not too sure about other countries, we get right away. If there's a pedestrian crossing, we have right away. The cars have to stop. But what you have to do is they will stop for you. You have to put up your hand. So if you're about to cross, let them know and they will stop. But you have to be really cautious of that. And also be cautious of your surroundings with pickpocketers. One of our guys in our group nearly got done. The girl, I think, came up to him and said, take a photograph.
It was a ploy, yeah. She came up with a camera. Of course, it was a complex camera. Gave it to him, and then he had to try and take her photo. And then
guys behind.
Yeah, 3 or 4 behind were all coming towards him. It was just lucky that the tour group was watching, and we all yelled out, and he sort of gave the camera back very quickly and walked away. The pickpockets actually laughed about it.
Yeah, they were laughing.
They realised they'd been caught out, and it was a big joke to them.
Try and speak, my next tip, number 7, try and speak a little bit of their language. They really appreciate that, and it just makes you feel a bit more inclusive there, I think.
Yep.
And it's a bit of fun too, because they seem to really appreciate that. And my last one, number 8, most places will love to please a tourist. So if you think it's good food, good coffee, or good service, tell them, because they really appreciate that.
Oh, very much. They love the feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very proud about what they're offering. Whatever that service is, they're very proud of it. So yeah, they appreciate the feedback.
That's all I've got, but you've got probably lots more.
Yeah, but mine are probably a lot more of a technical thing, and hopefully I won't double up too much. And they're in no particular order. When it comes to money, this was a big one that we debated a lot before we went as to how much cash we needed to take.
Yes.
And on this occasion we decided, no, bugger it, we won't worry about taking a lot of cash. We did have a little bit, but we decided not to worry about buying anymore.
And I love them because they're a cash society.
Yeah, and then we find out that Italy loves cash. They take credit cards, and we used a credit card a lot, but they prefer cash, and they've got a couple of little things they do sometimes to do it. So if your credit card, if you're a country that's used to just tapping and going, we found, I'm going to say 50% of the time, if not more, the tap didn't work. And towards the end, we actually worked out it was a ploy, that they would do that and then say, doesn't work, and they were trying to get you to pay with cash. We were just lucky that a couple of occasions the shop owner actually said, no, you need to insert it. And you insert it, comes up and works, no problems whatsoever.
And do euros, is it? Do euros?
Oh yeah, that was going to be one of the next ones. Don't worry, jump ahead on it. Yeah, so when you have inserted or whatever, on some places they'll offer you 2 currencies, in euros or in your local currency for your home location. And we were lucky again that one of the
was it for a bag?
It was the Bulgari salesperson. He said, no, just take the euros, because the local, they'll add an extra conversion fee on, or margin,
cost you more.
another 3 to 5%. So quite a big difference.
Yeah. Which was good advice from him.
Oh,
it was
great. I'd actually seen it on teller machines, but not on your credit card machine. So that was good advice, and we used that several times thereafter. And since talking to other people, they've confirmed that that's definitely the case.
Well, we didn't really know.
No. Well, I was expecting it if I had to do a teller machine, but fortunately didn't have to do that one. The other one, before we went, we actually researched, because I've done a lot of international travel for work, and I've never really worried about it because work would pay for the credit card fees. But when you you travel, you know, sometimes you can get another 3 or 5% just for using the card internationally, which mounts up when you're away for 23 days.
When you're buying a few things.
And buying some very
As I
expensive
like to.
things. Yeah. So we did some research and we found that one of our particular banks that we use, one particular account they have doesn't charge international credit card fees. So we use that everywhere, and it worked perfectly, and a number of other things, but we won't go into that.
I think what we're
worked.
saying, research before you go.
Yes.
Because we did a bit of research and we found that out, which sort of surprised us. So I think just do a bit of legwork, as they call it, before you go.
And on that front, if you are buying something and you're wanting to do the VAT refund scheme,
Yes, that's another good one.
what we found, only by accident,
Last purchase, I think.
yeah, it was. The first 2 purchases, we used this particular card that we were using. It was actually a debit Visa card, so coming out of our savings account, not coming from a credit card, but it was still a Visa transaction, and it would be accepted for doing the refund, the VAT refund at the first 2 kiosks. But the third place that we bought something for this, she said, no, that won't work. I need an actual credit card. And then we used a credit card and it all worked. But coming back when we actually went to process this as you leave the country, we thought, oh, well, that one with using the credit card, that's not going to work because nothing came up. But the other
get
two,
the VAT, is that what it's called? VAT?
the VAT return, and it turned out that it only worked on the credit card one, and everything had to go through that. So
We got lucky.
got very lucky on that one. In terms of the toilets, you've already said about paying.
Yeah.
The other thing is
I don't want to scare everyone.
the quality, the cleanliness.
Bad.
What do you say? Yeah, we stopped.
Disgusting.
Because we're on a bus tour, a lot of the time we stopped for toilet breaks at these places called auto grills, which were fabulous locations. But let's just say their toilet facilities could do with a little bit of improving.
We had very few that were really good, and when we got really good ones, we're excited. And even once we were using the men's because we'd all rushed to the toilet. And I think some of the men must have beat us. It was actually you men that...
No, it was the other way around. It was the ladies.
No. Believe me, it wasn't.
Well, we'll agree to disagree
And
on that
one of the ladies said to me, but isn't that a man on the door? You know how they have the pictures of the lady and the man? I'm like, oh, well, yeah, well, it could be. And then we walked along a bit further and we saw the urinals.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a joke in the end.
But the main thing is...
Our toilets were actually better. Yours were clogged. So when we went over to the proper toilets...
Yeah, you were better off.
We were better off, yeah.
The other thing is, don't expect toilet paper, don't expect paper towels to dry your
take tissues,
hands.
ladies. You know how you...
all those things.
Take tissues to wipe your hand and the other area, because you will not be able to guarantee that you can... And take your...
hand sanitizer.
That's it, hand sanitizer.
Okay, so moving on to something else that is probably a bit more male orientated, but it is a good tip.
Yeah, it is. Very good tip.
As I said, I've travelled a lot, and what I learnt a long time ago is take a power board for 2 reasons. One is that you always need more sockets than what is in the hotel. And if you get one with a long enough lead, you can use it as an extension lead, all of those things.
And we can do our phones together
at
the same time.
You're always wanting to charge more things than what's provided to you.
Oh, the lights have
sorry, the lights have gone out. Hopefully we'll be able to edit this and just keep going. Or do you think we should stop?
I think we should stop. Let's just fix it.
Stop.
We'll be back soon.
Okay, sorry about that.
And I have a little visitor here.
Yeah, we've got a little girl that had to join in. Okay, so we're talking about power board that I learnt, because you're always needing to power much more than what you ever think you need, because both phones need charging at the same time. If you've got camera gear, you need to charge your batteries, all of that sort of fun stuff. The other thing, and it's probably hard to describe, but is that most of the power sockets in a lot of places are on desks, and they're really close to the top of the desk. So if you've got a travel adapter that you're trying to use to power USB, phones, all of those sort of things, you actually physically can't plug it in because it's too close to the desktop and it just won't fit.
Yeah, a lot of our tour
commented
people
on that.
They said that they couldn't use their things because they couldn't plug them in properly.
Yeah. So this here, obviously, you will be able to plug in, and then you'll be able to do whatever else you need to do, which is a big one. The other one in Italy, which did catch us out, is that Italy uses 2 different adapters. So this is, I had to look this up, this is actually a type F, which is what we have, and they also use a type L, and they're not, you can't interchange them or anything like that. So depending upon where you're staying, some were using these and some were using the other one. But what we did find is that the other type of adapter can actually, the jugs and the hair dryers, etc. in the hotel rooms actually come with a little piece that you can take off them, plug this in, and then everything works. So just do your research on the types of adapters that you might need.
And back to hair dryers, there was quite a few that didn't work. I've never had that before where they don't work. They might be slow, but a couple of them didn't work. So if I had my time over again, I'd probably buy, if I had a little one, you know, just to, because I had to really wait for I had to wait for it to, they seem to be overheating. I had to wait for it to cool down, do my hair.
You get about 30 seconds.
Yeah, about 30 seconds. But they weren't all like that. So maybe if you really, you know, you might have better luck than what we do. But the hair dryers were a big dodger.
And one couple brought a steamer hoping to use that, and they found that it didn't have the international conversion of current of the current, so therefore they couldn't use it. So just be careful of those things. One that you need to be concerned now. Obviously, you know, we're doing YouTube, so we were taking a lot of photos and videos to do the vlogging, etc., which will come after this as we manage to process and get them up. But to give you an idea, we took with, I call it my big camera, over 3,000 photos on that. On our iPhones, between the two of us, we took over 2,500 photos. Mine actually filled up really early on, so we were totally dependent on Ada's.
I've got a newer phone.
Yeah, you got the newer one which had more capacity. On our GoPro, we took over 1,000 videos using that for this video footage. All of that is something you have to manage. There's several other couples were talking about how they were having to change cards all the time, trying to work out which one they'd already used and not overwritten. And then of course you need to think about backing them up in case something happens. I found that the GoPro, actually once you got past a certain number of files, you couldn't download them and back them up anymore. There was some sort of problem with GoPro software there. So just things to think about as to the capacity of handling it all. Yeah, I'll get to that soon. And obviously think about your batteries, because
you need quite a few, don't you, really?
Yeah, because you're taking so many photos, whether it's your phone, whether it's your cameras, GoPros, whatever, you'll go through a lot. We were very lucky in that the bus we were on had USB charging, so we could charge things on the buses in between trips, you know, in between when you stopped and look at things. It also had internet, so we were actually able to do backups.
It was a great coach, really.
Yeah, we were able to do backup of our iPhones. We've got an automatic backup service for our iPhones to a cloud service that we have.
Check out the back seat, because we didn't know how to put it. It has these tables that you, so we didn't realise that at first, but we were trying to get the back so that we can
I actually was sitting there with a laptop doing editing and stuff as we were going along. It was actually very, very good. You mentioned it a little bit earlier on, but I love, we got a comment from a couple of guides that we had.
that was funny. He thought it was funny.
Yeah, traffic lights are only there to look pretty, and that pedestrian crossings, the zebra crossings, are just there for decoration. So yeah, definitely don't think that you can just walk out, put your hand out and stop, and they will. If you don't, we actually had a situation where Ada was slightly in front of me on a zebra crossing, and I was obviously a little bit behind, and a moped drove between us. You know, one of their little scooter bikes, a Vespa, sorry, not a moped, a Vespa. She actually drove straight between us while we're walking across the road on a zebra crossing.
So we're not used to that.
Yeah, so
and
really,
the other thing I want to mention is the driving is really not what we're used to. They are, it's like we would risk our lives, but that's what they do.
The normal, the roads.
And the roads are so thin, not thin, narrow, I should say. In a lot of places, we could not go with the coach. We had to get taxis, and someone got a taxi, but you have to take the smaller little people carriers, I suppose, to get into the places.
Absolutely. Okay, it won't bore you too much longer. Only a couple more. In the Amalfi Coast, we were warned as we were pulling up to the hotel. Not warned beforehand. So if you're not aware of it, the bathrooms in the Amalfi Coast, older hotels, the more character hotels, which is where we stayed, are incredibly small.
Yeah, beautiful accommodation though.
The accommodation is fine, all that, it's clean, everything's like that. But yeah, let's just say they had to put 2 doors on the shower screen so that they could go sideways so that you could just step through. You sort of like got to maneuver in. Once you're in, it was okay, but getting in and out, as one of the other gentlemen said, he walked in forward, did his shower, stepped out, turned around, stepped back in backwards so that he could shower the back of him. Wasn't quite that bad.
It wasn't that bad. Yeah. I washed my hair. I was able to move. Like, you know, depends on the...
You're a tiny thing.
Yeah,
not like us.
I'm not really,
fatties.
but
yeah.
Now I'm laughing at this one. I'm looking down.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about the coffee and tea and jugs in the room.
Yeah. So we had a number of people. It's not what we do, but a number of people obviously enjoy a cup of coffee or a cup of tea before they go to bed or first thing when they get up in the morning. So therefore they'd like a jug inside the hotel.
Alan and Kathy, have to say, love you, Alan and Kathy, but they weren't happy. They needed their tea.
Oh, they weren't the only ones. There was quite a few others.
No, I know, but they were the beautiful people. They were
absolutely. They love it, and hopefully they'd see the funny side of us.
They're going to watch the videos, apparently.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're one of those people that like jugs in your room, be prepared to be disappointed in several locations. We had it sort of 50% of the time. 50% towards the end of the trip they had it, at the start of the trip they didn't.
I don't blame them one way because I don't have a coffee in the morning, but we were going downstairs for breakfast and having a coffee, but they wanted to do it before that time and after.
And then at night time as well. So, and then if you do get
we're
a jug...
We're into the wine at that time.
Oh, exactly.
Not in the morning though.
Yeah. If you do get a jug, don't expect that you'll have fresh milk or anything like that either. You'll have to go to reception and ask for it. I'll make this the last one. It was a shock for us because in Australia where we live, there's very strict smoking regulations as to where people can and can't smoke. And it's become much more restricted. So where people can smoke is a very restricted thing. They're off in a corner somewhere. They certainly can't smoke near food or restaurants or anything like that. They can't smoke undercover. They can't smoke quite often in a lot of public malls. So we're used to that sort of environment. It's the not complete, but significantly opposite in Italy and in a lot of other places in Europe that we've been to as well. Smoking is very normal, happens everywhere. A lot of restaurants don't allow it, but they're allowed to smoke straight outside the restaurant. So of course, if you're eating in an open air area, it just, as Ada said, it just wafts in. So just be ready for that and prepared for that because it certainly shocked us. We weren't ready for it. I've got very sensitive in terms of allergies and things like that. So for me, it's a real problem because it makes me get quite sick when I have a lot of cigarette smoke around me. So had to avoid it and do all those sort of things. But I think that's my list.
Well, that's my list, but I just want to finish on everything you have to pay for in Italy. Like, you know, in the room, there was no extras. There was no extra blanket because I got cold one night. It just is... because, you know, sometimes we have extra biscuits or water they give you as complimentary. None of that. We did get water one day, didn't we?
No, that was only because they had a jug and the water was for you to fill up the jug with.
Okay. But so there's very little, isn't there?
Absolutely, compared to the sort of what we're used to. Now, I don't know if it's the type of hotels we stayed at, but...
I think it's the Italy way, the Italian way.
Yeah, and as Ada was mentioning earlier, when you do sit down at some of these places. Like we did get a gelato to sit down at the table outside in the Amalfi Coast, looking out on people and all that type of stuff.
We were sitting down before we sort of ordered, and I
Yeah.
just assumed one of the big one. Well, by then I did want the big one.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
like
we
3
did it,
scoops.
and we loved it. It was beautiful and all
Yeah.
those things. But just expect that there is
Well, I
quite...
thought afterwards, oh, did we get a bit scammed? But I wanted
Yeah.
3 scoops
No.
anyway. It's just the way they talk and do things.
You pay a lot more for
Yeah.
it. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, but that was our lunch that day. I made that our lunch.
We knew we would, all that type of stuff, but just be prepared for that. Yep.
So that's about all. I think we.
I hope so.
We
If there's any questions or whatever, please
just
put them down below and we'll do our best to answer.
because there's probably things we've forgotten.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
But yeah, great place to visit. Love Italy. I think they're very stylish,
Yes.
and I'm actually going to do a video on the Italian fashion and style because I really think it was just superb, basically.
Oh, lovely country.
Yeah.
We'd gladly go back any time, all
Yes.
that type of stuff. So, absolutely beautiful.
Okay, I'll see you next time for a video. Bye.
Bye.